Right, it's time for Street Talk this week. Another good week on Corrie, I thought, this week.
I spit on your grave.
How rude. How very dare you. I thought that was good. That was a good grave spitting moment.
Yeah, it was. Although I wouldn't have gone for such a wide spray. I would have gone for a more concentrated globule.
Yeah,
full effect, like a big phlegmy splat right onto the little.
Yeah, he should have had a bit of practice, shouldn't he? Really.
Well, maybe he practiced too much and he's run out of spit by the time he got there.
Not talking about that story first, Gemma.
Okay.
We've got the Happy Babby Baby story. That was a massive takeover of this week, wasn't it?
It's all kicking off.
It is kicking off a little bit. I'm still enjoying it, but I'm finding it like a little bit tense, a little bit grubby, and I'm finding it like, whose side am I on here? Am I on anybody's side?
Nobody's covering themselves in glory, are they?
Not really. I don't know whether anybody's really coming out of it. Roy did a good job with Abby today, I have to say, but yeah, between Abby and Imran and Toya, I'm still on the fence a little bit on that one with who I'm going to be cheering for. But we'll see as we talk about it. So we'll do that story first. Then we got the Kelly storyline. Kelly reeling, we call it this week, because she's reeling from her parents' death. Yeah.
Oh, that angel.
I know. We've also got All Alone.
Oh.
Because of Orla Crawshaw. Poor Orla Crawshaw. Her husband's only gone and dumped her.
Not just all alone for poor Orla Crawshaw, whose husband's absolutely sick and tired of her working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, clearly. But also, all alone, poor Daisy, who has suddenly realised that being the other half of a teacher is not all fun and games and Easter holidays.
Well, especially when your other half, who is a teacher, is also the general dogsbody of the school. And when we've joked about the fact that it seems that Weatherfield High has only got 2 members of staff working at it at the moment. And I think the more and more we see of it, the more true that actually is the amount of extracurricular stuff that Daniel's been involved with in this past 6 months. Never mind though. Next up we have got the Faye not in a family way story. She's not pregnant, is she? And also the weird Kirk boxing stuff. What was that all about, everybody? Anybody like to know? Anyone get any idea about what was going on with Kirk and Mr. Geronimo? Please write in and tell me, because I haven't got a clue. We then had some more of the summer burnout. And oh yes, Gemma, we had a little bit of it on Monday. The thrill of the chess. Still just as thrilling as ever. So I'm gonna hand over to you.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
What a thrill for me. To
talk about the Happy Babby Baby. I hope you got a lot of puff with you.
No, I don't.
Hope you're not feeling too tired after our week. Because there's a lot to cover.
I feel hollow inside.
Monday.
On Monday, Adam shows up at work. Michael's just collapsed back onto the sofa.
Yeah, my eyes are closed now. Just give me a prod if you want me to have some kind of witty comeback.
You're retiring from the podcast so early, Michael. Okay.
Right, go on.
On Monday, Adam shows up at work and he has a bit of a go at Imran for using it as a doss house because he's been kicked out because he and Toya are no more, alas. Or so it seems at the beginning of the week. Adam tells Imran he's sorry for what he's going through. That's very nice of him, isn't it? Toya, Leanne and Elsie are in the bistro and Toya's telling her how difficult it is.
Oh yes, because it's Elsie's last day.
I know. Here she is again, giving up another child that she loves. Poor woman. There is not a lot of sympathy on the street. For Toya.
Toya was trending tonight on Twitter, wasn't she? Not all in a good way.
There's never any... If you ever feel like it might be all right, like, it's okay, humanity can make it. We'll be okay. Everything's fine. We love each other, really, and that's the most important thing. Like, if you've watched a Disney film and you're coming out of it with a misplaced sense of optimism about the fate of mankind, just go on Twitter and just go to the recent, for any hashtag at all, any hashtag you want, and just see the cesspit of misery and moaning, and you'll realise that we're all doomed, and we probably deserve it.
It was definitely Ms. Battersby who was in the firing line this evening.
The whiplash of the consensus is just baffling to me, because not that long ago everybody was hating Abby and saying that she was a scumbag.
I think they still are.
So what is it? The battle of the bitches? It seems like nobody Imran's skating by on his good looks, right? And Abby and Toya are just being slated for the vile crime of wanting a child as a woman, as though it's some kind of outlandish desire.
I know, Imran is getting off of this so lightly, even though he's clearly the most dodgy underhand one of them all at the moment. Did you see the look at the end of tonight's episode, everybody? He's a monster.
He's a monster, yes. Now, this might tie into something that we later discuss in the news about male and female soap characters, but I'm not going to get into that quite yet.
I thought you may have something to talk about the British soap awards.
Okay, so, poor old Toya giving Elsie back. Or, maybe she's a bitch. Who can say? Imran catches up with her in Victoria Street, and he knows that it's time for Elsie to go, and he wants to know if he should be there as well. And she's like, nope, it's all your fault. Of course you're not going to be there. Lou comes to pick Elsie up.
That's pretty harsh, really, isn't it? Like, you've had your chance to say goodbye, Imran.
I mean, I'm a petty bitch, so Toya and I...
I totally would.
I would, yeah. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to be in charge of anything. Lou comes to pick up Elsie. Toya says a very sad goodbye, and she tells her to be good, be brave, and be happy. Now, those are good. That's better than live, love, laugh, life, living it large. What is it? Live, life, what? Live, laugh, love?
Eat, sleep, repeat.
Eat, pray, love. Those are pretty good ways to live by. I might get them written in fancy script above the bed.
Oh, yeah.
And then with a little thing in block capitals says Toya Batsby 2022.
Original quote.
Yes. Be good, be brave, be happy. She might have said that. She might not have done. That's what you've written down.
Yes,
the car pulls away. Toya is in tears. She just covers her. I remember this. She covers her face with her hands. Oh, how could you say horrible things about her on Twitter? I don't know. She heads over to the bistro to see Leanne, and she has a large glass of red.
Oh yes, she gets drunk on Monday, doesn't she? That's brilliant.
This goes to show you that I was watching this, especially today on Friday. I was thinking this is a bit of a class conflict, isn't it? Here, I know that Toya comes from rough stock, but she's definitely middle class, and we got that vibe from the contrasting beverages of choice for the stressed mother-to-be. You've got Toya with a large glass of red in the bistro, and you've got Abby trying to down a cider in a flat above a precinct.
So and you're more of a cider drinker yourself, aren't you?
I definitely
you have it out of a bottle, not of a can.
I tell you what, sometimes when I'm feeling particularly fancy, I drink it out of a French cider bowl that I bought from Normandy. So, do I get points for that, or am I just common? Who can tell? Toya tells Leanne about how she thought Imran was her perfect man, and I will say, tonight he looked very good in green. I don't know what that colour was. Is it Kelly green? Whatever it is, Toad Mello, take note. That is a very good colour on you. I continue. Leanne promises...
Just under a spell like every other woman on this planet, Gemma.
Leanne promises...
He's just tall with a beard, come on.
It's the eyelashes, Michael. They remind me of a camel. Leanne promises that she'll get through this, and Toya says that Imran has destroyed her life, and she's going to tell him. So she marches off to the office to confront him, but finds Adam there instead because Imran is at the hospital. And Adam sees that she's upset and offers to make her some tea. Leanne sees Imran in the street and says, Toya's on a rampage, she's coming to get you. And he gets excited because it reminds him of Big Brother when Davina McCall comes to get you, but it's not quite as exciting as having one Big Brother, is it?
Yeah, it's also like that because there's Please Do Not Swear.
Yeah, you're live. You're live on ITV3. ITV2, sorry. No, ITV. It's been a long day. Where am I? You've moved the thing.
I have moved things down. You're here in the notes. Toya bemoans her lack of children.
And before you can say veggie lasagna...
Oh yes, she's snogging Adam, isn't she?
This was so weird. I honestly think
my mind has gone fairly blank with this week's Coronation Street. It's like I'm watching it all again for the first time.
I feel like this was the writer's way of saying, if you want to hate her, here you go. Here's your chance. Here's the in. This is how we're going to smear this character. I mean, I don't know. This is one of those things that a character does where I just pretend it didn't happen because...
So do I.
It's so out of character and so inconvenient for my like of them. That's why I'm going to pretend
massively out of character.
That it never happened.
But it also made me a bit sick this week that she gets dumped, or she does a dumping or whatever to her boyfriend, and then the next guy that appears on the scene, she's got her tongue down his throat, Meanwhile, over the road, Mrs. Crawshaw, exactly the same thing. She's been married to Mr. Crawshaw for who knows how long, split up, and then, oh, hello, Daniel, do you want to open a bottle of wine? It's a bit sad that it seems like with these two supposedly strong women, their first reaction to, you know, being out of a relationship is to drop their drawers for the most conveniently placed bloke on the street.
See, I think you're saying it like that, but actually what I think this is a very deep-rooted concern of yours, that were we to split up, I would just go to the nearest bloke.
No, I'm just concerned that nobody's ever tried to snog me when they've dumped their boyfriend.
Oh.
I'd obviously push them away, but I'd be appreciative of the
You
of the
just want
chance.
some attention. That's okay, we can arrange that.
No, honestly, don't you think it was a bit silly that we had two characters
do,
this week that had both that same reaction? Come on, ladies. You don't need no man. Toya said herself on this week's episode she didn't need no big strong man to save
You
her.
don't. You just need to get yourself a couple of cans of gin in a tin. Go down to the cinema and watch Mamma Mia with your mates, and that's all you need to get over a bloke. Isn't that right, ladies? Can I hear a hell yeah?
I think Toya's going to have to go and see Sonic 2.
I would say, and I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, there was chess in that as well, and I couldn't believe it. Like in the first 10 minutes, I was nearly left. I was like, is the universe telling me something? Maybe if I take up chess, it'll turn out I'm actually a genius at it.
Can you become the Chess Express to ruin your day?
A grandmaster at the age of nearly 40, having never played chess before in your life?
Yeah.
Let me know. Write in conversationstreet@gmail.com. So,
anyway,
Imran walks in right in the middle of Toya giving Adam a good old snog, and Adam's like, whoa, the other thing I want to say about this is it had absolutely no consequences whatsoever. It was so stupid.
I did find that quite refreshing, because on Wednesday's episode, Sarah has a little chat with Toya, doesn't she?
It was bizarre. It was like somebody got bet 50 quid that they could make Georgia Taylor snog Sam Robertson.
I think Georgia's been having a bit of a word with the scriptwriter, to be
who knows
honest.
whose idea it was, because I think could have been either way, couldn't it? So Toya's mortified. She says that Imran's broken her heart and he cannot make things right, and he says he can and he loves her. Leanne sees Abby in the shop and gives her both barrels for sleeping with Imran. Meanwhile, the discussion is still going, and Toya is not making it easy for Imran, and she tells him there's no way that she's taking him back, and she says,
how long does this last, Toya?
So you have a child, Imran, and he has a mum, and it's not me. Kelly's in Victoria Gardens.
That's right, we're on to the Kelly storyline.
Just a little blip
now.
here.
No, this is there on purpose.
Oh, it's
the
mixed
morphine
in. Right,
bottle. It's the Calpol that she was chugging on Monday.
Yeah, just a little blip, that's what I mean. It's a little blipping in and out. Kelly's Victoria Gardens. She's got a bottle of medicine, which was Laura's morphine, and Abby sees her.
It's morphine time.
It's mighty morphine time. So she, obviously, we've seen Kelly dabble a bit with substance abuse every now and then.
Once or twice.
But if you want a smackhead, you want Abby. Abby shows up, but she stops her from taking it. What a killjoy. She's not the answer. Trust me, I've been there. She tells her the pain of losing her mum will ease itself over time. And Kelly tells her about everything to do with not being there when her mum died,
what a tragic life
we saw it last week.
Abby crawled over a corpse and everything. Did you not see?
Abby delivers. She's like a cat trying to make herself comfortable, isn't she?
Yeah.
Abby delivers Kelly back to the flat and tells Gary about the morphine. And Gary tells Kelly off, and she says, look, I missed my parents more than I thought I would.
Okay,
and Gary
maybe we
reminds
have strayed
her
a little bit into the other
that
storyline.
she's part of the story now. Then we end up with Abby crying over some photos on her phone of Seb and the twins, and she's got the morphine. You've done it. You stitched me up. She's got the morphine bottle. What is she going to do?
Chug, chug, chug.
No, don't do that. It's very naughty. On Wednesday, Imran and Abby are with Alfie in the hospital. Abby's very tired. She didn't get very much sleep. And Imran tells her that he's found a place to live, that maybe she and Alfie could move in with him. He just needs a woman, doesn't he? He's very much like we.
So, Abby, I hear you're quite good at pant washing.
Yes, and you don't like vegetable lasagna. Tell me more. Do you think he's ready to upgrade to cottage pie? He wants to help look after his son once this is all over. But she's like, no, I don't need your help. Thanks very much. Toy's got regrets over last night. She's got a massive hangover. She's at work. And Sarah's like, can you come and have a word with me, with Toya? I hear something happened. And I was expecting this to be a fake out where Toya thought that she was going to talk to her about kissing Adam, but actually she's talking about something else. And then Toya, like, tells her inadvertently. But actually, Sarah knew, and she was like, yeah, don't do that again. But I don't really mind because my husband's a big man whore.
She has learned from the experience with Adam and what's her face? Lydia, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's like, my husband's just a big hunky chunk.
Because he loves me.
I don't mind it. I
It's
don't
kinda
mind
funny.
if bereaved women take a peck at him every now and then. I'm secure in this relationship.
I don't know what I'd be more mortified about if I was Toya. If snogging my boss's husband, or just Sarah Louise being my boss and being all patronising.
Yeah,
to
Sarah
me.
Louise being like, "Don't worry, you're no threat to me." I'm like, excuse me, I know how to use everything.
I couldn't work for Sarah Louise if I was
couldn't
Toya.
either. No, I know.
My superior intellect, me as Toya, that is,
Of course.
just couldn't allow for it.
No, exactly. Well,
Everybody can see that Sarah is like, don't know what she's doing, didn't know her ass for her elbow at that place.
well,
Surprised she's not sewing elbow pads instead of pants.
why not? Yeah. Sarah kind of finds it a bit funny, really, and she's being very reasonable and says, "You should go easy on yourself, and I'm here to talk if you need me." Ugh. Imran finds
thanks.
Kelly outside the tram stop and apologises to her for not being around much recently. He's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. We were your foster parents." It's like they're just going flitting from child to child, like they think it's some kind of speed dating thing, but for kids.
That sounds so dodgy.
Well, you know what I mean? It's like, nope.
A little bit of this one, a little bit of that one.
Kelly, nope, too much drugs. Elsie, no, don't talk enough. Alfie, okay, but he's in hospital, so have you got any others? Have you got any other kids? So, he apologises. She's fine with it.
The good thing about Alfie being at the hospital is there's probably like a Costa at Weatherfield Hospital as well. Another one down Victoria Street is closed down.
They're probably all
it's just like
hankering
very
after some
convenient.
disgustingly sickly, weird novelty drinks that nobody wanted. Like, what is it?
It's hot cross bun latte at the moment at Costa's.
Well, at least that's not as bad as Starbucks.
Oh, what's Starbucks doing for their summer drink this year? Sorry.
Orange and vanilla.
Forget me not Frappuccino. What the hell is that?
What the hell is
why
that?
do you want an orange Frappuccino? Oh, disgusting.
You people.
Every year I look forward to finding out what Starbucks
I don't know why.
new summer Frappuccino is going to be. Disappointing
They're
this
like,
year.
every year we could think of something good and it runs out. What should we do this year? I know what. Let's make something so
That is
disgusting that nobody wants to
That's
order
very,
it.
very true. Usually I only get one or two goes at it before it's like nationwide shortage on Dolce di Leche or whatever. Anyway, I digress.
So she then Kelly brings up that Abby saved her from doing herself a mischief with the morphine. And Imran's like, oh my goodness, looks very suspicious. What's going on here?
Oh yeah, he gets a
with the
long,
drugs.
suspicious face, doesn't he, while the theme music plays for the adverts there.
I am suspicious now. What's happening next? What Imran goes round to Abby's flat on the pretense of wanting a copy of the birth certificate so he can add Alfie to his health insurance. I bet he's on Bupa. What a pretentious arse. She goes off looking for it, but actually it was all a distraction because he's trying raiding the flat for the morphine. Abby comes back.
If I had a factory roof drop on my sister, I'd probably go for Bupa as well, just to be on the safe side.
Also,
in case,
waste of time for
case the
bloody
gods were
factory's
after
going to
me.
land on your head. Bupa's not going to help you, is it? So, she comes back and he talks to her about Kelly and asks her outright, what did you do with the morphine bottle? And she says, I chucked it in the bin in Victoria Street. And then he's like, well, what is this then? This is an empty bottle I found in your bin you've been using again. And she says, no, I poured it away. I wouldn't have taken it. Alfie needs me. And he presses her a bit, but then says he believes her. But he accosts Toya as she leaves the factory later from a hard day's work doing God knows what, and tells her that Abby's back on the drugs and he's going to apply for sole custody. And Toya's like, I don't even care what you're telling me for. And he says, I want you by my side. You, me and Alfie. Like some kind of weird, I don't know, evil family, like a rival family
They're
from a
not
Disney
evil,
film.
They're lovely. But dysfunctional, perhaps,
Aren't
at
we
the
all?
moment.
They go back to the flat and she's not making it easy for him. He grovels. He says that Alfie's best shot, a child, could make her complete. And she says, look, I don't need a big strong man to help me and I don't need a child to make me complete. And she says, without a child, you think I'm half a woman. You can't buy me with a baby. He's your child, Imran. He'll never be mine. And he says, look, this is what we wanted. I don't know, if I was Imran, I'd be like, look, you didn't care that Elsie wasn't your kid. What are you bringing this up for now? What do you want? A clone? He says, we always knew that we wouldn't have a child biologically. Whatever happens, Alfie's going to be part of my life, and I want you to be part of it too. And I love you. And she tells him to leave, but when he does, she cries again. Not a good day. Toya heads to the bistro.
She wants a Weatherfield Waterworks award.
I know.
He wants the new British Soap Award Best Family Award. I think that's his. That's
He's
really his.
He's like, I've
end
heard of a
game
new
here.
category. Toya, you've got to listen to me. There's a new category called Best Family, okay? And I've heard that they don't think that a couple is a family, which I think is rude, personally. So we've got to get a baby. Now, we had Elsie, she's gone. We had Kelly, she's gone. Alfie could be my only shot. Toya heads to the bistro, gets Leanne up to speed with Imran's proposal.
He's going to be coming down for best villain if he's not careful.
Ooh. Leanne can see Toya's actually starting to come round to the idea, and she's very down on this. She does not think this is a good idea. Toya's like, no, it could work. Just look at you and Sam, for one thing, and Simon. I'm going to think about it.
In fact, who is related to their child in this street? Pretty much nobody.
Leanne says, this would never work. You're always going to look into his eyes and see Abby. So then Toya goes to see Alfie. I guess she's trying to gaze into his eyes to see if she can see Abby in there.
Oh yeah, she gets and has a sit with him in the hospital, doesn't she? And then the nurse is like, how's mother and baby doing? Like she's managed to sneak in there pretending to be Abby or something.
Yeah. The nurse is like, I'm face blind.
Don't ask questions there.
I'm face blind, but somehow in charge of the neonatal unit. Abby goes to see Imran with proof that she's clean. She's had a drugs test yesterday, and she has to have one every week. And he says, you could have taken this before you got the morphine. That's a load of rubbish. I don't believe it. And she storms off like, what more can I do? What more can I do? Imran goes back to the flat, updates Toya on Abby. He says that she cannot be trusted. And she says, let's do it. Let's take Alfie. Let's get back together. He sweeps her in for a hug and says, you're not going to regret this. I love you. And Toya says, I love you too.
It's what I always wanted, but
well,
it's not.
this is exactly like the monkey's paw, isn't it? Where you make a wish,
yes,
and then you get what exactly you never wanted.
This is total monkey paw.
This is what that story should be called.
I'd already been trying to in my brain kind of wean myself off the idea of Battersby forever, and now they're just dangling this in front of me when I know it's not going to work.
It's cruel, isn't it? It's like the mirror of Erised in Harry Potter or whatever it is, where you look inside of it and you see what you really want, and you spend all your time gazing into the mirror and saying what you want, but you miss out on your real life, Michael. This is real life right now, what we're doing. Okay, we can't just be caught up in what Toya and Imran are doing the whole time.
Okay.
Except when we're doing a podcast about them.
It's our job. Friday.
Toya's had difficulty sleeping, wondering what they're going to tell Abby. She's got attack of the conscience, and again, this is annoying to me because Toya and Abby are just being judged completely on like the effects that their actions are going to have on the other person, but nobody seems to judge Imran for it. It's like he can do whatever he wants. The fact that he has no conscience about it seems to kind of work in his favour because he's not bothered about it. So nobody on Twitter cares that he's a dirty dog. I've seen like one or two comments going, oh, he's vile and horrible. And everyone else is like, oh, Toya, she's so mean. What? Because she's actually thinking about these things, but she's doing it anyway. What's worse? I guess that's a philosophical question, isn't it? What's worse? Knowing that your actions are going to lead to bad things and doing it anyway, or not even thinking about it at all. But the thing is, though, I do genuinely believe that Toya thinks that she's doing it for Alfie's good, but I also believe that both Toya and Imran know that they're kidding themselves about whether Abby's really doing drugs or not. I think it's a convenient thing for them to believe, but I think that they're both quite aware that perhaps it's not necessarily true.
Totally.
But I'm going to add again, as a soap viewer, I know it's just a matter of time before Abby goes back on the drugs. Maybe when we get a new producer.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows when her next relapse will be? When the ratings start to dip, I guess. So on Friday, Toya's had difficulty sleeping, wondering what they're going to say to Abby. It's going to be very difficult. But, she's also saying it's not going to be permanent. We're just going to look after him. Abby can be as big a part of Alfie's life as she wants. Imran's like, this is brilliant. I don't care about all these difficult details. But then he
Imran's
says,
just like, la la la, I'm going to have Alfie. And Toya's, this is clearly eating her up, isn't
Yeah,
it? She's
well, she
looking so
knows.
on edge and nervous about the whole thing.
she's genuinely concerned about what this will do to Abby, and she knows it's probably not the right thing. But again, I also feel, I understand that there's definitely a bond between mother and child, and I think that's kind of irreplaceable. But I also think that Dad's getting a bit of a short shrift here. I think Imran, on paper, Imran's just a better option, isn't he, for Alfie to raise him?
Yeah.
Than
Clearly.
has everybody forgotten? Like, I'm Team Abby, like 100%. But I also think that Toya and Imran are a better fit for parenting. I mean, he's going to know the difference between penne and rigatoni. Would Abby better teach him that? Would she better teach him what's the difference between a fish fork and a dessert fork? I don't think so.
The trouble is, like, you look at Abby and you think, well, clearly that's not a stable family life to raise a kid. But actually, she is seeming to be doing everything right at the moment, isn't she?
Is at the
Whereas,
moment, yeah.
if you look at the house of sand that Imran and
Yeah.
Toya are living in at the moment, they're not stable whatsoever.
It's difficult, isn't it? It really is. Like,
When he was going off to his bookshop or whatever at the beginning of today's episode, she was so suspicious of him, wasn't she? She was
Yeah.
like, that sounds
Where are
like
you
the sort of
going?
thing you'd be saying
You're
if you were lying. Yeah. So she can't trust him forever. She's going to be constantly
Yeah,
looking
that's
over
true.
her
That's
shoulder
true.
and wondering what's he up to, who's
it's a
he
real
sleeping
dilemma,
with, where is he?
honestly. But you know, from the very practical standpoint of two parents versus one, being a single parent is very hard. The best solution, of course, is that everybody makes friends with each other and co-parents together in a happy harmony. But I don't think that that's an option the writers are going to be looking into.
No.
So, meanwhile, they're talking about what they're going to do, and Imran's like, yes, well, I've got to go, actually. I've got some work to do. I know it's Easter Friday or whatever today is. Good Friday.
Good Friday.
But I've got stuff to do for Adam. And she's like, I don't believe you. That's the sort of thing you'd lie about. Where are you off to? And he's like, I'm going to a bookshop that's got a cat in it, so you've got to let me go. Which, of course, nobody would lie about a bookshop with a cat in it. So Toya's like, all right, okay. If you're going to let the cat sit in your lap, I understand.
Did it seem at all odd to you that there was a funeral going on Good Friday? Did they think that Rick Neelan was Jesus, and if they bury him today, he's going to be coming back next episode? That's the only.
Well, I always thought you couldn't
that
have.
the churches may be busy. I don't know. Quite an important
Well,
day in the
take any
Christian
money they
calendar.
can
Good
get.
Friday.
Maybe it's the only way they could guarantee at least one person extra turns up for the funeral.
Oh yeah, maybe. Anyway.
Meanwhile, Kevin's sorting out Ken's car. I don't know what this was about. Ken's car. Daniel's put window washer in the brake fluid hole again.
Easy mistake to make, that's all I'm going to say.
She asks him, who's she? Abby says, all right, I'm going to go back to work. Is that okay? I need the money and I need to distract myself and I need to show the social worker I'm earning moolah.
I really, really must remember to put water in my windscreen wipers before we go back to Southampton tomorrow, because it's not been any in there for about 6 months. And you keep on telling me.
Every time I drive the car, I'm like, why is there no water in this?
Yeah, but as soon as I arrive at whatever destination I'm heading, I instantly forget that there's no water in the washers, and then get on with the rest of my life.
Sort it out, make a note.
Can
Kevin,
somebody tweet me in the morning? If you're like an early listener to this podcast, can you just send me a message, please, saying Michael put water in the windscreen wipers? Honestly, it'd be really, really helpful.
He's not joking. That would actually be quite helpful.
Let's
see how many we get.
I can't even take a photo of myself doing it and saying thank you very much, whoever it is,
at whoever.
Yeah.
Tyrone is surprised to see that Abby's back to work and tells Kevin he doesn't want her taking advantage of him, but nobody listens to him because Tyrone's lost the right to complain about anything on a moral standpoint. Toya and Imran are see the social worker later, and they're talking about the fact that they want to definitely take custody of Alfie. And Toya says, look, I know that we literally just broke up and couldn't adopt a child, but we're totally committed to each other now and we're gonna get married. And Imran's like, we're gonna get married? How exciting. They love each other.
They were
Brilliant.
engaged before this whole kerfuffle went on, weren't they? So it shouldn't have come as that much of a surprise.
Well, no, he's like thrilled, like, oh great, it really is happening, we are getting back together and she still wants to marry me. Imran, you dumb beautiful idiot. they can definitely provide a stable home for Alfie, they say. And they get told the interim care order is being withdrawn straight away. It's not going to take too long. They're chuffed. And then Alfie can come home once he's been let out of hospital. And Toya's like, this seems very easy. And lots of people on Twitter are like, yes, this wouldn't be how it happened.
I need somebody who understands our interim care orders to say, how long would this take? Because this is almost like...
Again...
This is fourth wall breakingly fast, how quickly this has happened, doesn't it?
Too much knowledge
Beer and
about...
soap, everything happens very quickly here.
Yeah, too much knowledge about any particular thing. Like, even the immigration process for Australia is a dangerous thing when it comes to Coronation Street because it just takes you out of the immersion. So, Toya can't believe this is so great. No more court hearings. Alfie home with them. Imran's chuffed. Goes in for a kiss. And she's like, we need to tell Abby. So Abby's in the hospital reading Alfie a book. And she's getting all these phone calls. So she picks it up and gets told something. And she's like, what? Next thing we see is a confrontation on Victoria Street.
Did you miss a bit? Did you miss about Chloe coming, or did I just zone out? Chloe
just says everything's sorting out.
Yeah. She says, I've heard from the judge. And this is what Abby finds out. So we're kind of led to believe, all on, A-OK. And this is what Abby's being told as well.
Well, it is. Yeah. I'm just about to tell you.
Okay.
Abby's saying, I can't believe this. You're taking my baby off me. And you're sick, Toya, you're horrible. You're cutting my son out of my life because you can't have children of your own. Doesn't Toya call herself Baron Battersby or so at one point?
Nobody calls you that, Toya.
Stop trying to make it a thing.
Don't pretend you're cool and you got a nickname.
You're not Karen.
Nobody talks about you, Toya. Sorry.
You're not Baron Karen, okay?
I know Baron Karen was a thing. It
was.
Yeah. I don't know what Toya's... I can't think of a better one off the cuff, but...
She's like, I've got a nickname at work. It's Baron Battersby. And I was like, nobody... I forgot you worked here. Poor Toya. So, she's having a slanging match. Kevin drags her away. She storms off down Victoria Street going, you're going to pay for this. And so Leanne comes along and she's like, sling your hook. So they have a nice fight. Roy gets himself involved. And this is how I think you know that Imran and Toya are the baddies.
Yeah, I know.
Because Roy's there going, Abby, let me offer you some words of wisdom. She's going off on one. They're back at Abby's flat in the precinct. She's rifling through the drawers looking for emergency cider money so that she can, what's the word?
Get leathered.
She can drown her sorrows. Meanwhile, Kevin goes up to Toya in the bistro and asks her what's going on. Abby's like, okay, she can look after Alfie, but you're not giving her a chance. And think of all the things that she's already lost. And Toya's like, oh dear, making me feel guilty. Back at the lawyer's office, Imran is helping Adam. I don't know why, because I thought he'd been struck off. But you can tell he's not a proper lawyer anymore.
Who's been struck off, Adam?
No, Imran.
Yeah, what happened with that?
I don't know, I thought he was in trouble. But you can tell, I don't think he's a proper lawyer anymore.
I think he's just flashed his eyelashes at the lawyer's naughty slap on the wrist board, and he's like, oh, come on, you don't want to lose me, do you?
No, he's not a lawyer anymore because Adam was wearing a suit and Imran was just wearing a green top.
Yeah.
So, he's helping out, and he tells Adam what's going on and about what the predicament they found themselves in. But Adam's just ranting on about some paralegal who's done something underhanded and undermined a case of theirs. And he's got this business card of this man and he keeps saying his name. And Imran's like, stop saying his name. I'll talk about it later at the end of the episode. Put it in the bin for now. So they put this man's business card in the bin for retrieval at a later date. And he says, some people cheat, just let it go. Later on, Roy has brought Abby a cutting from Seb's garden to remind her that although she might have difficulties now, by the time Seb died, she was a good mum. So, grow this into a tree to symbolise your motherhood. Don't let it die, though, because that would be quite demoralising. And then she also gives her a choice. Normal, delicious cider or non-alcoholic cider. To Americans, hard cider and just cider, because you guys are crazy and you think that cider is just apple juice.
Cider and apple tango.
Hard cider is what they call it in America. We just call it cider.
I know,
I'm not telling you.
Okay.
Oh, it's like her deciding what type of parent she should be.
Well, Roy's like, yeah, see, whether you choose the apple tango or whether you choose the cider.
I got some nice appetizer and I got some Harry Westons.
He's like, later down the line, you may have to make a decision. Like, you're going to have a booze up or you're going to look after your kids. So maybe start picking the right one now.
No, I'd say have the alcoholic one while you're fancy free. Also, it's Good Friday, Roy. Bugger off. I'll get as drunk as I like. Thank you very much. Toya and Amaran get home. Toya might be having second thoughts. She's having a bit of a wobble. She's worried about Abby. She's a good person, everybody. Twitter, listen to me. Twitter, listen. Toya is a good person. She's just being a bit naughty at the moment. Because she really wants a baby, and she's wanted a baby for years. Weren't you watching it? Back in the day, she was trying to nick Eva's baby back then. Old habits die hard.
Some of the tweets I've seen him in, like, this is even worse when she tried to steal Eva's baby. That's not quite how it happened.
You've got Abby, who's a drug addict, and you've got Toya, who's a baby addict. It's not her fault. So she's worried about pushing Abby over the edge, back to drugs, and everyone says Alfie's best chance is with them. Then we get Elliot, who is the person who's been in it before.
He's Abby's lawyer, isn't
he? She says, I want full custody. I don't want them to get their hands on Alfie. I want everything, him 100% to me. I'm clean. I'm ready to fight. So she sees Imran in the street again later, and she says, your relationship with Toya is a scam. I've spoken to Elliot. We're going to win. You're going to lose. So he goes up to the office and he leaves a message with Toya about them needing to fight for Alfie. And then he goes into the bin to get this dodgy paralegal's business card because it looks like he's ready to play dirty.
Ooh, exciting stuff, Gemma. So, what's the topic of conversation here, Toya? What did you think this week?
It's very difficult. It's so difficult because the urge to want a child is such a raw and primal urge that you can understand Toya and Abby both and why they want to take custody, and in a sense they're both right. Toya is right in that Abby is quite unstable and who knows how long she's going to be clean for, and is she in a really great position. But then who is Toya to judge whether a mother should be allowed to have custody of her own child? There are plenty of mothers who aren't 100% perfect, but they struggle and they do their best, and that's all you can really expect.
It does seem like Toya is just kind of grabbing for excuses, really, to try and get this baby.
She's justifying it.
And
because that's what she wants.
What a plank to take Imran back. Sorry, after everything that he did, and I love Imran and I love Toya and I love them together.
I know,
but for her to be saying on Monday's episode, "There's no way I'm going back. You'll never be a part of my future." Then literally the next episode, she's like begging him to come back, pretty much. Well, no, she doesn't do that. She says, "I'll go on then."
Yep.
It just makes you look really, really weak, and I don't like to see Toya being weak. That's kind of my problem with it, the way that she's being written like that. Although there is the growing theory online as well that Toya is stringing Imran along, isn't there? And it looks like possibly she could maybe get custody of Alfie and then kick Imran to the curb. What do you think of that theory? I'd love it.
It's not going to work, is it? Because this is like. Is she modelling this on Leanne's ladder to success with Simon? Step 1, kill mum. Step 2, get in with dad. Step 3, fire. Step 4, win.
I don't know. I don't know.
Because Leanne ended up with Simon. She's not blood related to him at all. The only reason that she ended up with him was that she was dating Peter, and Peter was an absolute useless waste of space. In the same sort of way that Abby is. That they're both addicted. He's an alcoholic, Abby is a drug addict. Both of them tempted every single time something goes wrong, and that's how Leanne ended up with Simon. So is Toya going, maybe I could have my own Simon here with little Alfie?
Maybe, because it's the Leanne Simon relationship has been brought up, and also Les got a bit of a shout out tonight, didn't he, as well? With
I
him
know. I
not
wouldn't
being
be bringing
Toya's
up
proper dad.
Wouldn't be bringing up Les Toya if you wanna.
But do you think
have a stable family background?
Do you think that she's just stringing Imran along?
I,
I'd like to think so, but
I'd
there's
like
not
to
been
think
any
so.
telltale signs.
She hasn't made
there?
a funny look. But
When they had
also,
a hug at the end of Wednesday's episode, she didn't glance to the
No, she
camera,
didn't.
and that's the only way that I know.
Yeah, but if this is a plan, it's a crackpot scheme because it doesn't make any sense. Why? Like, no. Her
Well, it
only
would
claim,
make sense.
Her only claim to Alfie is through Imran, and if she double crosses him, then how does she keep?
But if she
Alfie?
can be legally his mum,
yeah, but it
then
doesn't work
she's got
like
just
that.
as much right as does it.
No,
work?
it doesn't.
I don't
No,
know if it works like that.
I don't think it works like that. I don't know anything about it. I would imagine in the same way that Abby was trying to adopt Jack,
Yeah.
that Toya would have to adopt Alfie
Yeah.
to have any claim. Well, that's not going to happen in the next. I mean, how long is she
It's
going to?
very quick.
How long is she going to sit around with Imran?
No, I think
Being
that
nice to him.
she
It'll
is
take
desperate for that.
years.
She's desperate for that baby. I think that she'd be willing to sit it out.
I think she
just
should
to try
go,
and get Alfie
I
at
think
the
it'd be
end of
easier
it.
just to snatch one out of the hospital.
But also the thing that I can't remember who it was that was saying it, Leanne maybe earlier this week. There are other babies, and I don't think that Alfie is the best choice for Toya, and she is going to be looking into his eyes, not only seeing Abby but also seeing Imran. If she is indeed doing it to string Imran along and then kick him to the curb,
The only reason
she can't want a baby that badly.
yes, she does.
What about what's happening? What happened with Elsie?
I know,
like
this
literally
is
Monday's
honestly
episode.
stupid.
She's like, "Bye bye, Elsie, off to your forever family." Oh, I'm so sad about it. And then the next episode, she's like, "Oh yeah, maybe if I did stay with Imran, then I could have Alfie." What about Elsie? You can have her back now. Like you
If she had
literally
said
sent her off
nothing-
on her way. Exactly. If she said nothing, then she could still have Elsie with her. This perfect little
Now-
princess kid.
Now, again, this is one of these things that people say is like a plot hole or something, but it's. I would argue bad writing, but also to point out that people aren't always rational, and that bad decisions are what make fiction interesting. If everybody did
Oh gosh,
the
yeah,
perfect
soap is all
thing,
about bad decisions.
then it would be very boring. And another thing I see quite often when I look through Corrie and hashtag is turn Corrie on today to see if it's still miserable. Yeah, it is. Still miserable load of old crap. Like, yeah, of course it is. If it was happy, it's not Teletubbies. We can't all be prancing around with handbags in a magical kingdom with a baby for a son.
No,
No, we can't.
and an
Some of us-
anthropomorphic Hoover.
Yeah, some of us live in the real world where people snatch babies.
I just think that if Toya is playing the long game here, that
It's
would
baffling.
be quite good. Yeah, but it'd be quite good in the. I'd like for her because she's looking so weak and pathetic and sappy at the moment. Honestly, isn't she? And
I
also
don't
horrible
think- I think that's
for
mean.
keeping Alfie away from Abby, because Abby's been written quite sympathetically in a way today. And I know there's not very many Abby defenders out there as well, but to have Toya say, sorry, yeah, you can't look after your son, and I know you're trying really hard and everything, and you're reading in bedtime stories and everything, but I think I'm going to be a better mum. If she were to turn around and say, haha, I've been stringing you all along, I've been using that phrase too many times in podcast, Imran, I win, I've got the baby, you're nothing to me, sling your hook, mate, I think that could get people back on Toya's side again.
That's the only reason to want her to be doing this, because it makes no logical sense.
What
Otherwise, to be like, I'm gonna trick Imran and then take the baby, because number one, that wouldn't happen, and number two, you could have had Elsie.
I just think that she should. Do you think that she? Do you think that she wants Imran? Do you think that she does love Imran, or is she just telling him that?
She's kidding herself, I think, at this point in time.
And
And
does she love Alfie, or does she just want a baby? She doesn't
I
know
think-
Alfie. She went and had
you
a sit
can't
with him
know a
for a bit.
baby.
She went
Oh,
and
I
had a
know
little
what he
sit.
likes: milk and pooing.
I just
Babies don't have much in the way of personality traits at this.
she's either playing the long game or something's going to happen where eventually she'll realise, no, this isn't right.
Of course,
And
this whole thing is heading for tragedy when Toya eventually comes to her senses and realises that this is not the way to get what she wants.
I hope that either Abby or Imran or Toya, at least one of the three, come out of this story looking triumphant and not like a massive loser, which is what all of them... they're just shedding fans by the bucket load, those three at the moment,
It
aren't
really
they?
is, like, they're doing a number on these three
them.
characters. But I'm finding it interesting.
Oh, I'm still loving it. It's brilliant. Where Corrie was at the beginning of the year in January and February, and I was so bored by it. This is worlds away. As much as they are totally doing a character assassination on all three of these at the moment, the fact that they're three characters that I'm really, really invested in, actors that I adore, I don't care. I'm absolutely loving it.
But,
and if this is all this week was, if there was no, Kirk having a box competition or whatever other nonsense we had to put up with this week, if it was wall to wall this, I would be happy. As difficult as it is to watch sometimes, because I'm like, no, you're doing the wrong thing.
Well, I'm just finding it intriguing because to me, it's three characters I really like, and I don't think there's a clear-cut villain in this story. In the sense that I think even though they might have fooled themselves and maybe deep down know that they're being wrong, I do think that Toya and Imran have got a bit of a point when it comes to Abby. And
oh yeah, they absolutely have.
And the
Why
morphine
should they
thing,
trust her?
The morphine thing is, we're supposed to believe that Abby didn't take it, but she could very well have poured it down the sink.
We do not know for sure.
Why has she got the bottle? She said she threw it in Victoria Gardens bin. Why didn't she do that when she could have done that? She could have poured it into giving the flowers a bit of a perk.
That line that she said, I threw it in the bin at Victoria Gardens. If she was being 100% honest, she would have just said straight away, I brought it back, put it down the sink. So I don't necessarily trust her. And even if she didn't take it, then we've seen her relapse so many times.
And the other thing
before.
as well is that
Abby and Toya are absolutely right.
It's rather hilarious that for somebody who's trying to avoid drugs, she's been in contact with more extremely hardcore drugs by accident than I ever have in my whole life.
Yeah, some people attract them.
She seems to stumble across the hard drugs, like, just left, right and centre, even when she's trying to be a good Samaritan.
It's that the Lord is trying to tempt her.
Very strange, isn't it?
So
it's the law of attraction.
Yeah. So Imran then, he's now going to be fighting dirty with this dodgy what did you say? A paralegal, was it?
It's like
a lawyer's helper.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not. You're not. It's not. You can be. You don't have to have a law degree. It's just somebody who.
So he's going to have somebody going around doing his sneaky business.
Well, they made a big point of saying this is a paralegal, which makes me think that they know what that means and they understand that he's not a lawyer. But I also would not put it past Coronation Street to have this guy turn up next week wearing a judge's robes with a gavel in his hand going, I know we don't use this in this country, but I just really like it.
Just need the viewers to know that I'm involved in law somehow.
I'm a lawman.
I'm a law person. You're a law person. Yes,
I'm the sheriff in this town.
I'm a law person as well. So, it seems like if I was Imran and I wanted to get the dirt on Abby, I'd just be planting drugs all over that flat.
That's the question, though, isn't it? This is the thing, like...
It's very, very, very easy to make Abby look like a completely unfit mother.
Smackhead.
You don't really need a paranormal
Paranormal?
That's what I think whenever I've been hearing paralegal this evening. It's a lawyer for ghosts.
Paralegal, a lawyer for ghosts. That's fantastic. He's like, hang on, I'm getting in touch with Seb. He says, don't let my mother have Alfie.
No, so it's like mega easy. You just
look, isn't this like one of the most fascinating tropes, like, Shakespearean almost. How much are you going to get your hands dirty
and
to
Imran
achieve something that you believe is the morally correct thing to do? Like, are you going to stoop to underhanded things to achieve something that you think is like the ultimate good?
I don't even know whether he thinks it's the ultimate good or whether he just thinks it's the ultimate thing that I really, really want.
I know, but
And
Michael, isn't it absolutely intoxicating when you believe those two things intersect Absolutely. And he's totally high on this idea of himself as the saviour of Alfie. And he got everything he needs at his disposal.
He thinks he's Mr. Right.
And the fact that Toya is going along with it is only going to reinforce this delusion in his mind that actually, you know, if everything's going my way, even though I've done all of these things, it's because deep down inside I am actually a good guy and the things that I want are the right and moral things to do. Therefore, I'm completely justified in planting evidence, getting this guy that cheats on my side. I want to know,
I think he's going to have to take a long, hard look at himself.
I tell you what, if I was Imran, Elliot's checks would be drying up right about now.
You reckon?
Why is he paying this man to take his son off of him? I know he said he'd pay for Elliot. And
oh yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, so why is he still paying for him? I'd be like, Elliot, sorry,
Maybe
mate.
He's not anymore.
You're fired.
What's Abby going to try and do to procure?
Well, this is the thing. She's
Alfie.
Now going to become the kind of symbolic, you know, trodden upon waif, isn't she? Who's just trying in the face of kind of it's a class. I really do feel like there are elements of a class battle here because Abby is she's portrayed as very working class in this. She's not very well educated. She's got a background in dabbling in drugs. She was living in filth the first time we saw her. She's got a whole of her kids taken off of her. She's like, if you were to write down the stereotype of like the worst, the worst, most common person. And I know this is stereotypes. That's my point. You would have Abby, but now she's kind of caught in the cogs of this, like, of society, which honestly would look at Toya and Imran and Abby and almost not need to know anything more about Abby's background. Toya and Imran are just the middle class personifications of what you see on an Argos advert of like mum and dad, you know, chopping up the vegetables and putting yeast and flour into a bread maker. And then you've got Abby going, ooh, alcoholic or non-alcoholic cider, what shall I have this evening? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Abby is now the underdog and we're supposed to root for her.
Yeah, but the way they've made her look in recent months, it's going to be very difficult to get the majority of the viewers on her side. People have got very short memories.
I think people are on her side almost immediately because I think we do have this underdog, the love of the underdog in this country.
Yeah, we do. I think,
and we have a very keen sense of fair play also. And Abby, Imran, and Toya are not playing by the rules. They're lying and cheating and sneaking around. They're not even really 100% sure that they should be in a relationship with each other, and they're portraying themselves as the perfect parents, but actually they're lying and sneaking and plotting.
Yeah.
And Abby almost doesn't stand a chance.
Abby said to Toya today, your relationship's a scam, didn't she?
So I said it to Imran.
So I think that she's maybe going to try and get in there and try and find some proof that Toya doesn't actually really love Imran or something. That's going to be her way into it.
At those two.
Yeah.
And the trouble is also that Toya's one main champion and confidant is Leanne, who has got Imran's number and knows exactly what he's up to and has absolutely no love for them being back together as a couple and thinks the whole thing's nuts.
Oh yeah, we've got Toya versus Leanne again, haven't we?
Well, it's not versus.
Well,
what do you mean?
Well, as in, like, Leanne was having to give some harsh words to Toya on Wednesday's episode. Yeah. So she's needed in this. So great that she's involved in the story. I'm absolutely
there's a lot to
this,
talk about with this.
It's just so difficult having three of my favourite characters.
But this is what I like about it. I don't like it when I don't mind it. I kind of like there to be a cartoon villain for me to hate. But this is very interesting as well. This is like, I think you could talk to 10 people in a room and they'd all have a different idea about what they think should happen. I think most people are going to say that they want Abby to get Alfie in the end because they don't like people being sneaky. But I think in real life, if you were Toya and Imran, you might stop at nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's always that risk that she gets Alfie and then she, relapses. But if only we could all get along.
Why can't they just say if they believe so much that Abby's going to take him down a dark path? Can't they just wait for her to like slip up once and then say, aha?
Well, they thought that she already has Michael. That's the point. This morphine, they believe that she's taken it. And the other thing I just want to point out that I think we've all forgotten is that the courts have said, sorry, you can't have him. If it was not the case that Abby had not been found wanting by the courts, then let's not forget that Imran honestly and earnestly supported her to get custody of Alfie, even though it was for his benefit as well. Even with all of his efforts, she didn't get custody. She wasn't allowed to have this kid. Now, if it's not necessarily a choice, Abby versus Toya and Imran. Actually, it's Imran and Toya versus foster parent who has no prior connection to Alfie whatsoever. Now, if looking at it from that perspective, surely it's much better for the child to be with his biological parent, whether that's totally the mother or the dad, and Imran can offer him a stable home in inverted commas. Yeah.
Oh gosh,
it's really interesting. I want to know what everybody thinks.
I think we need to. Yeah.
What do you think about this? Who do you think? Like, are we being too easy on Toya and Imran?
Are we thinking too much into this as well? Because there's so many other storylines, as you'll probably see as the rest of the podcast goes on, that we're like, anything to discuss here? No, not really.
Move on.
This is just sort of where as difficult and as cringy and as I find it, I'm really pleased that there's a story that I care about and am invested in. After a few months of, Joseph go to Portugal, Tim die of a heart attack, I don't really care either way. This is just fantastic that I'm so invested in it.
This is
doing a good job.
Yeah, honestly, it's doing its job as a talking point for Coronation Street. This storyline this week has got everybody talking, whether they support or not the various characters involved and who they think is the villain or whatever. It's definitely caused conversation.
And I'd also like to say as well, just before we move on, that I'm really, really glad that Imran and Toya are at the heart of this story that's causing all of this as well, after so many years of people saying, where's Toya and Imran? Why are they never in it? They're really shortchanging those two actors because they're always just in the background. They are they're on the A team at the moment.
But I wish people were more nice to Toya. This is exactly what happened to Leanne, though, isn't it? With Leanne when Ollie and how much she fought for him. When a woman doesn't just go along with what everybody else tells her to do, and she doesn't just get, try to be nice and placate everybody, as soon as she stands up for what she wants, suddenly she's a horrible, annoying bitch. And that is the truth about this is why women are trained to keep our mouths shut about what we want and put everyone else first. Because as soon as we decide we want something, whether it's snatching someone else's baby or not,
or just a snog from Adam,
suddenly we become the annoying, grasping cow who's asking for too much.
Must move on. The Kelly Reland story, Gemma.
You're just so proud of that, aren't you? You should be. It's quite funny.
I quite like that one, yeah. After last week's heart-wrenching final scene with her crawling over a dead mum, what is going on with Kelly? This is going to be another one of those stories where I feel like I haven't got a whole lot to say. It kind of felt sort of natural what was going on, and it was very much just sort of the come down from last week, wasn't it?
I know,
with a bit of a funeral drama in today's episode.
You need a story that's quite plain and here you go, this is what's happening. Whereas...
Kelly's just kind of spending this week going, I wish I'd spoken to my mum more. Isn't it tragic that I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to her? And Gary's there in the background going, sorry, that was my fault, or he's saying to himself anyway. But anyway, George comes along to Maria and Gary on Monday and says, Rick's body's been released from the coroner's office. Laura's is coming soon too. And then Todd chips in and says, do you want a 2-for-1 funeral? Which is quite funny. Kelly says, look, they say Kelly needs to decide what she wants to do for funeral arrangements, and yes, joint funeral is an option. I kind of missed the bit in the week where they decided that they weren't going to bung them in the same grave together. So they just want to string out 2 funerals out of it. I don't know, but it seems more expensive.
Bung them in the same grave.
Although when you got £380, you can probably afford the luxury.
£380?
£180,000. You can have the luxury of a 2 funeral week. Anyway, they go home, Gary and Maria do, and say, Kelly, what do you want for a funeral? And she's like, I don't know. I just only found out that they're both dead. I don't know what to think at the moment. It's too soon to be thinking about all of this. Then she gets a phone call from Rick's solicitor who wants to see her, and it turns out, yes, she has got all of Rick's assets coming her way, and that is £380,000 worth of stuff or thereabouts. All too much for her to take in. I don't know what she was expecting, because she would have known that they had this massive house. Probably if my dad was a loan shark, I might have been expecting a little bit more than £380,000.
I don't want to be rude, but yeah.
Was he not a very good loan shark? Or is it just that Gary's skimmed the top of it off over the last 2 years?
Maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I have a very distinct memory of it at some point Laura Nealon standing in a house, which obviously was Rick and her's house that Kelly was brought up in, and it had an enormous kitchen with a big kitchen island in the middle of it.
You do like to remember a kitchen.
I'll
never forget a kitchen, me, says Gemma. No, I've got a feeling as well.
And I mean, I know that house prices are very different in the north versus the south. But I would have thought that house alone would be worth that much, 280 grand for that size kitchen.
But do you remember what a dodgy Rick's office was? Do you remember his little scum hole with an office with a desk and a Ready County calendar? So he obviously wasn't the greatest.
But that was more like a lair, wasn't it, than an office?
It was, wasn't it? It totally was. Anyway, so Gary goes round Rick's house.
We're just criticising his financial mismanagement, you know.
He's got more money than us.
That's true. I mean, we're slagging him off here, but he's made a better life for himself than we have.
He has
I mean,
indeed.
what are we going to leave Abby when we die?
Not a baby.
No, she can... Not Abby, no.
Gary goes round Rick's house to check things out, and he sees this photoshopped picture of Rick and Kelly smiling next to each other, didn't they? Yeah. Because obviously the two actors have never had anything to do with each other in real life, but wasn't that sweet? So he takes back this box of keepsakes and gives them to Kelly. It's got, photos, and it's got lots of little photos of baby Millie Gibson and stuff, isn't it? It's quite cute. And she has a little look at them, but it gets massively overwhelmed by the whole thing and storms out. Maria finds Gary later and says, Kelly may have got upset by this, but it's a good thing that she did. It's a good thing that you did showing it to her. She needed to see this to try and get some sort of closure on it. Also, it might make her convinced to sort this bloody funeral out. Wednesday, George tells Kelly about the time slot that's been made available at the church on Friday. Yes, that's right, everybody. It's a classic Corrie last-minute cancellation at the funeral parlour, so you can get your dad buried there, no problems.
A very desperate need to discover what causes a last-minute cancellation for a funeral.
Yeah.
What on
last
earth
minute
happens?
resurrection.
It's like we've lost the corpse. What on earth could it be?
I don't know whether it was a last minute cancellation or whether he just turned over 2 pages in his diary at once last time he looked.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe he just thought, who would want to bury somebody on Good Friday? I don't know. Or maybe it's like, there's been that's not made available. Did I tell you that my bank holiday rates are 5 times the normal going rate? You do have £380,000, don't you, R. Kelly?
Yeah.
Oh, she's not R. Kelly anymore. She's no one's Kelly, is she?
Oh, don't be mean. She'll always be someone's Kelly.
So
Gary and Maria's R. Kelly.
Maria talks to Gary about this funeral, and it says, look, probably is for the best. It's happening sooner rather than later. Let's just get it out of the way. And Maria says, look, I'm going to find it a little bit difficult going to this funeral because I am a very important person around Weatherfield, these days. I am the local councillor, and I can't really be seen going to a known criminal's funeral.
I love this. It was the most hilarious. She wasn't wrong, actually, in the end, but she sounded so pretentious when she was trying to make out that she was Miss Hoity-Toity, social butterfly, can't be seen, doing the wrong thing.
What has she actually done in her position of councillor since being elected a couple of weeks ago? It's not all.
Somebody might very well go, oh God, I can't believe the councillor Connor was seen at a thingy blah blah. But she could say, actually, I never met him, although I don't remember if she did or not. But I was supporting my foster daughter. Like that's a pretty good sub story.
Yeah.
And also, the elections just happened. You can't be recalled for going to a dodgy funeral. It's like, yeah, good luck. If the best time to have a scandal is right.
If we can't get rid of Boris Johnson after everything that's been going on recently, you're not going to be able to evict Maria from this. Just because you went to a funeral of a loan shark, you're right. So anyway, but basically by the end of the episode, Maria's decided, yes, I will go for this. So Friday, everyone's getting ready for this funeral. Maria kind of rubs it into Gary. Oh, yeah, you're going to Rick Neelan's funeral, eh? Who'd have thought it,
You
Gary?
killed him.
Oh, this turn of events.
Friday, Maria put her pants on backwards, or she wore a pair of special bitch pants or something. Because the whole day, it's just mean.
Was she?
She was just bitching to Gary about. Do you know that you killed Rick Neelan?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we remember. Thanks, Maria.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. So, yeah, they all go out to the... Was it a church? I think it was a church.
Yeah, it was a church. It was a weird Tudor church.
It wasn't the church that I recognised.
No,
anyway, seems like they're the only ones that I was waiting for Sharon to turn
Where's Sharon?
up. Where's Big Sharon?
Yeah,
not
where's
not
Shazza?
Abbott Sharon, but the
No,
other
the other
Sharon.
Big Show.
Why couldn't she come and spit on Rick Neelan's grave? I don't know. Anyway, Gary's worried about any of his cronies turning up, and one does indeed turn up as the funeral starts.
A crony.
Some guy. Who was he?
He was a victim.
Oh, was he a victim of Rick's loan sharkery? Comes up and spits on his coffin.
Yeah.
And I thought that was marvellous.
Yeah, what a dramatic turn of events.
Yeah, so Gary has a bit of a punch-up with him.
And Kelly's like, oh, what are you doing that for?
Did the pap in the bush see this? 'Cause
No.
they kind of took it outside, didn't they? And,
They have a little
and Gary sent him on his way
scrabble.
with a bit of a scuffle, yeah. And then, there was...
Well, Gary punches the man in the face, and he like collapses across a pew.
Yeah.
And the vicar's like going, this is why we don't have Good Friday
This
funerals.
is why we don't have funerals for loan sharks. I told the Archdeacon, but he was like, just deal with it. I'm hoping to get a nice Easter egg from my daughter at the moment.
I was expecting the coffin to burst into flames on the threshold, but when it didn't, I thought, well, I suppose we'd better just do the ceremony then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I love the fact that Billy, even though it's not the storyline, has just been arsing around on Good Friday, buying Easter eggs.
No, he did go to church today, didn't he? He was trying to get Summer to go to church with him to do I don't know what.
He said, I've got that church thing.
What is it that I've got to do? Oh, it's Easter,
Bible,
isn't it?
something Bible class, Bible readings, Bible sale,
One of those. I've still got to do some Archdeacon, really. I don't know.
Some more Bibles or sell some Bibles.
Anyway, Gary and Kelly later on having a nice little sit on a bench. And she just says, oh, I just wish I'd never been born to Rick and Laura. Oh, they were such terrible parents. Oh, this time that I wasted loving them. But she does say that she wants to go and say a proper goodbye to Rick, though. So she goes to his graveside. Chucks in a sticker Brighton Rock because it's got sentimental value or something. Huh?
The Pap did.
The Pap took a picture of what was going on,
Maria
yes. And Gary gets in his final words to Rick as well, which was, it's over, done. And you know what? I'm going to take care of her better than you ever did.
Was that your Vera Duckworth impression?
That was my Gary Windass impression,
okay,
actually.
just checking,
Yeah.
You sounded like, what's her face? Randy old lavender lady.
I was waiting for him
What's
to...
her name?
Randy Lavender Lady, Phyllis Pierce.
Yeah, you sounded like Phyllis Pierce there.
I was hoping to have something a bit more clever that Gary might have said towards the end.
I don't think Gary's that bright, so it wasn't keeping, but it wasn't very pithy, was it?
No, it wasn't. Like, there's this story
like
that's been going on for so many years. I was hoping for a little bit more. It was should have stayed at the party or anything, was it?
I can't even think of anything. Neither could the writers, so I don't feel too bad.
Anyway, so they go back home. But, oh no, Kelly's gone off somewhere. Maybe she's gotten to get some tea bags, was the plan, wasn't it?
Well, Gary's gasping for a cup of tea.
Don't blame him. But she comes back and she's not been to the tea bag shop at all. She's been to go and see the spitting man, who was apparently very lovely and quite apologetic about coming to ruin the funeral service like that. Sorry I spat on your dad's grave and everything.
No, sorry you saw it.
But
that's what he said.
Oh yeah, he said, sorry you saw it. I should have done a secret spit.
Yeah.
But
we're cool on the grave now. Afterwards. You don't need to spit on the coffin.
So anyway, so that's all sorted.
Well, no, this was kind of her way of making peace almost with it. Like, you know, I want there to be a Disney Plus series where Kelly Neelan travels the country apologising to victims of her father, and they all make friends, and she learns something new from everyone until the very end when she becomes a wonderful, fully fledged person, and everybody forgives her for kicking Zeb to death. Yeah,
that's where it's going, and you're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of it, isn't it?
Because it's a Disney Plus, maybe it's a Marvel film, and she turns out to be like Captain Marvel's daughter or something.
Okay, maybe. Maria reminds Gary at the end that, just because Laura was kind of nice a little bit towards the end, she was a pretty rotten mum for most of Kelly's life, so we shouldn't be feeling too sorry for her. Oh, look, I got a load of followers on Instagram, says Maria. What's going on? Is it because I'm such a brilliant counsellor? I don't know, maybe it is. But obviously we know that something's gone on with the paparazzo at the funeral, and it looks like maybe he's put a little article about Maria online somewhere, and she's not been googling us. I would have thought Maria would.
Alerts.
She should have a news alert for her name, but she's not.
I don't think it's a good idea to read what people say about you on the internet.
No, especially if you're Toya at the moment.
No, anybody. If you go looking for yourself, you're not gonna. If you put yourself out there in any way whatsoever, somebody ain't gonna like it.
So
Maria, you should just stick to looking beautiful.
I can't say that I'm particularly invested in Maria's follow count or indeed popularity as a counsellor.
No, I know. I kind of wanted her to fail as a counsellor because I think it'd be sort of funny.
I think it'd be
I don't know what her policies are.
The problem is, it's not going to be played that way, is it? If she does fail as a counsellor, or if the whole of Weatherfield turn against her, it's going to be, oh, poor Maria. We're not supposed to be kind of snickering at the fact that this hairdresser who get ideas above her station, thinking that she can be a counsellor to Weatherfield. I don't know.
She could have joined Extinction Rebellion and blockaded the bridges of London.
Well, yeah, how much environmental work has she done since being elected? Again, nothing.
I mean, she didn't even push for an ecologically friendly coffin.
No, she didn't. She didn't have a Haley Cropper cardboard.
There's some great wicker ones.
Yeah.
Or a cardboard one. No, he was stuck in a...
And they didn't walk to the church, did they?
No, that's true. Maria...
Terrible.
They hired a hearse and everything.
Just like all politicians, make your promises and then you go
one
right
rule
back
for
on
you
them.
and one rule for the plebs.
Yeah.
Typical. That's it.
That really is, isn't it? I thought the funeral was quite good. Nice to have some location shots. I thought the spitting was quite fun when
we did get to see Gary do a wander around Rick's house, which was bizarre because I don't understand. Rick's obviously gone missing. Everybody knew that Rick was missing, and they didn't know where he was, and they thought he might not be in the country anymore. Yet his house has been standing empty while Laura's been languishing in some random flat. And also Kelly was homeless at one point. And yet, despite the fact that Rick's been missing for over 2 years, the amount of posts he had was absolutely pathetic. We've probably got more posts than that. We've not been away for a week.
Yeah. I think Sharon's been going around hoovering it up. If we don't see Sharon again, I'm going to be very disappointed.
But it was just very odd. I don't understand this house, why the house was there.
So, we've got Laura's funeral coming up next week, haven't we? Is there going to be a crowd of people hoping for a round 2? Could
be, yeah. Could be full of paps trying to rile Maria up.
Yeah, maybe.
It's so sad that Kelly wanted the funerals in this order because she actually didn't really want, her mum's is the worst one because she hates her mum for killing her dad, even though she didn't. I say save the best to last and have Rick's next week and have Laura's first.
So Gary was already feeling a little bit guilty at this funeral, so is it going to just build up to a melting point at Laura's funeral? Is there going to be a confession?
I know, is there going to be a drama at Laura's funeral?
I hope honestly, so, because it feels like the drama has been, just gone from the story this week.
And the church that... Oh, God, more cat food. That scared the life out of me. We had Rick's funeral at this church that I didn't recognise. Does that mean that Laura's is going to be at the normal church that most of the other funerals are at?
Maybe Billy gets
did she
to do
pick
that.
2 different churches?
I don't know.
2 different graveyards?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
And also, why did she... I mean, she picked to bury them. 2 separate graves. I know she said she didn't want the money, but she's burning through it pretty quick. I don't know how much it costs to bury somebody, but it's a lot more than just sticking them in the toaster, isn't it?
In the toaster? Is that what you would do? Is that what you're going to do to me? Put me in the toaster and just launch me up? See where,
yes, that would be a really good service, wouldn't it?
Yeah, inject me into space through a toaster.
Yeah,
I think it's time to move on to the next story. all alone, Gemma.
All alone
It
on
wasn't
Monday.
really about Orla, but
No, it wasn't.
She's been upgraded to full-time character this week. She's just been given a personality and a backstory and everything, hasn't she, Mrs. Crawshaw?
Yeah. So on Monday, Daniel's telling Daisy he's got to go to school to do a bit of sucking up to Mrs. Crawshaw. Now, Daniel's confused her because actually when he says sucking up, what he means is his actual job, which is to be a teacher. He thinks that this is all extra work that he's doing. This is just normal.
Look, let's get on with what happened,
right.
and I'll have my rant about what the ridiculousness
Well, I want to rant
Daniel's
about it myself.
situation.
Having sat for many hours waiting for you to do work during holidays, or not being able to do anything or go anywhere because of how much work you've got.
But
I
wouldn't be going in.
offensive.
I don't go into school in the Easter holidays to book a random trip for like the reception class just to get a few brownie points.
No.
So
and
go
also,
on.
you don't go, I know where we'll go, Edinburgh. Why are we going there? I don't know. What
Right,
can we
let's
do?
get this rant out of the way now then, fine. So we're to believe then that Weatherfield High are just doing some random trip to Edinburgh. For what educational purpose? I don't know.
There
We
isn't
just
one.
want to go to Edinburgh because we're up north and they're up north. That's quite close, isn't it? But not too close that we can make it residential or whatever. So who should we get to do this trip? The geography teacher? No, the deputy head. Yes, the deputy head. Of course, the deputy head is in charge of organising trips to Edinburgh.
Well, I'm just going to say, it would be the history teacher or the geography teacher.
It's going to be some kind of humanities teacher that's doing this.
There's got to be something, some reason. You don't just go, I'm going to Edinburgh. Why am I going there?
Oh, look at all these funds that we've got just waiting to be spent on a school trip.
And
anyway.
I know I'm not the only one who doesn't know this, and I know that people from Manchester probably know this, but most of us aren't. It's 4 hours in the car to
quite far
Manchester
away,
to Edinburgh. Because actually, as we found in that hilarious Twitter exchange with that person, some people consider Manchester to be actually south of England.
Yeah. No. So what Mrs. Crawshaw decides is, I'll take charge of organising this random geography trip. In the Easter holidays, let's get some of the other members of staff in, because sure, everyone wants to come into school at Easter and help organise some purposeless trip. Oh no, it's only Daniel that showed up. Well, it's a good job that I'm already sitting in Daniel's classroom for this, isn't it? AKA the only room in the school. So Daniel, I don't know what you are, whether you're a trainee teacher or whether you're a newly qualified teacher or whatever, but whatever it is, your long-term future here is on thin ice. So would you mind taking on this? Because I'm having a bit of a hard time at the moment. My husband's left me. I've turned into an emotional wreck of a woman. I think that she was just faking it, basically, to try and get Daniel to do this trip organisation for her. She doesn't give him any, he literally says, I've never booked a school trip before, but I'm sure I'll manage because I'm smart. I'm the smart one on this programme.
Yeah.
No, you can't just book a trip with no idea about
you without, and the only thing that he's using to do this is a map that she's fished out of her handbag, presumably from a hen party she went to in 2005.
Yeah,
she's like, do you know what? I'm sure you can work it out. Whiskey tour, ghost tour, rub Greyfriars Bobby on the nose, deep fried Mars bar, back home again, haggis in the bag. What else do you do in Scotland?
You got to book your accommodation. You got to book the coach. You got to do all the safeguarding. You got to go
Health
up there.
and safety.
Is Daniel going to go up to Edinburgh to do a recce, to do a little check how safe it is? Probably not. No, just because he grew up there for a little bit when he was younger, that doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
You got to how many kids are we anticipating going here?
What's the cost?
What's literally?
How can they afford this? Is this a reasonable expenditure to ask the parents to outlay, considering we don't actually know why we're going there?
Is this the first time that the Weathy High has ever been on a school trip to Edinburgh, or did they maybe go many years before, and then we can maybe just try and see how they organise it that year and just copy this year? No, we're just deciding, off the cuff to go to Edinburgh.
You just know it will be like next week.
I know that this sort of trip you've got to book so far in advance, but you're right, it's going to be back to school next week. Right, let's go to Edinburgh. Who's going on this trip? Any volunteers, teachers? Daniel, yes, you don't have a class they'll be fine. You don't need to teach your class for a week. New TA, Mrs. what's her name? Wheatley. Yeah, you can come along to the trip. Oh, Daisy, is that all right with you if Daniel and Nikki go to Edinburgh? Yeah.
There's been a mishap with the booking of the rooms. Looks like the teachers are going to have to share. And I don't know how they're going to film it or whether they can have, because I don't know what the COVID restrictions are, if they're still in force or whatever. You know that if they do film them going off on this school trip, there will definitely be a scene with Daniel standing at the front of a coach with a clipboard going, tick, oh yes, make sure, George, sit down at the back there and stop throwing paper aeroplanes, you wholesome little waif.
It's so.
No bubblegum chewing on the coach. Everybody singing Gangooli. We're going to watch a documentary about Scotland on the way.
Despite all of this, I'm still finding this bizarrely engaging because I'm just sitting back and seeing what hilarious thing they're going to say next, which is totally unrealistic. I'm not watching this mad. I'm watching it going, this is really, really funny that they think this is how you organise a trip. And I've never organised a secondary school trip before, but I'm guessing if it's anything like a primary school trip, it's nothing at all like what we're seeing on Corrie this week.
One of the hardest things, I think, is how little respect teachers get compared to how much you work and how much is expected of you and how much you sacrifice. And things like this do not help. And it just frustrates me.
They've got so much time for just organising random trips.
Just arsing around, doing nothing.
Anyway, I kind of hijacked that discussion to talk about how ridiculous this is, but we kind of missed the synopsis. But we kind of got to the point where Daniel's going in and saying, yes, I'll do it. I've got nothing else to do. You know, I did the ice ball. That turned out really well. Did the Cara concert at Christmas. I literally every single extracurricular activity that this school has done since September, I've been the person that's been in charge of it. So why not this?
He's also saying to Daisy, she's been mad not to give me a permanent position now at the school. Now I'm doing this. It's like you have to really, really mess up for there to be a position open when you're...
It's not clear in what capacity Daniel is working at this school at the moment.
It's going to turn out at the end of this that he's like the caretaker. It's been the caretaker the whole time.
If he's been in training, if he's just in training, then... Anyway, go on. What's been going on?
Is it me that's supposed to be doing this?
Yeah, you're supposed to be doing this one. Daniel's going to give it a go with planning this trip,
so he's doing it by himself because Mrs. Crawshaw's crying.
I just can't help laughing whenever we hear her name and think it used to be Crawshaw.
I can't say Crawshaw,
Mrs. Crawshaw
without it sounding like I'm making fun of the name because of my unfortunate southern accent. So I do apologise to all the Crawshaws out there. It doesn't trip off the tongue so well for me. Right, so that's Monday. Wednesday, he's telling Nikki about it.
He says, don't worry, Mrs. C. I'm not going to tell anybody about this. Your secret's safe with me. Yeah. Next scene. Nikki, guess what about your new boss? You'll never believe this. She's only gone to spell with her husband.
She's crying her eyes out, that stupid bitch. Anyway, I'm going to do all the organising and you can come with me.
He's going to be head teacher. He's going to be kicking Mr. Griffin out of that school gate by the summer holidays, and they're going to be Lord Education Chief of Britain.
He's going to be the education secretary by the end of the week.
Yeah, all you got to do is organise an ice ball, the trip to Edinburgh.
No, it's more simple than that even. Just don't go to parties during lockdown.
Oh, yeah.
On Wednesday, Orla hunts Daniel down in the cafe and she's like brightened up a bit. She sees Roy's eclairs and she also wants an update on the trip. So Daniel says, I'll give it... I don't know. She's crying and saying... it's so helpful that you're helping me here with this. And Daisy's listening and she hears that Nikki's involved. So then she quizzes Daniel about it. And then Daniel takes Nikki back to his flat because he doesn't want Beth to see them together because of the whole thing between Nikki and Sinead and Beth and Daniel. And then Orla comes up to the flat while Nikki's in the loo and she tries to seduce him with a bottle of wine.
Daniel's just got this thing, doesn't he? He attracts the older woman.
I think it's just because he looks like a helpless boy.
The older woman in charge.
Let me help you out.
Yeah,
young waif.
He was. It was the same with women. What's her face at the paper, wasn't he? He was in charge of the editor in chief there.
Yes, he's a
it's
bit of a
total
cougar
Mrs.
magnet,
Robinson
isn't he?
syndrome. Yeah.
She's trying to get the glasses out for them to have wine, and then out comes Nikki from the loo, and Orla's like, oh goodness me, and embarrassedly makes a retreat, and they kind of laugh about it, and Daisy walks in while Nikki's teasing Daniel about this and says, oh, Daniel's got an admirer, and they have this kind of inside joke which does not help Daisy's paranoia about this. And Daniel says because Daisy says, stay stay with us and share the wine, but she's like, no, I've got to go. So she leaves, and then Daniel says, oh, you're really great about her, it's really nice. And Daisy says, well, she's your friend and she's my friend, in like a really kind of terse way. And so Daniel fills her in about Orla. So on Friday, Daisy wants to do something nice with Daniel, but it turns out he's working with Nikki, and there's so much to organise for this Edinburgh trip, and Daisy's very on edge, and she tells Jenny that she's barely seen Daniel all Easter, and she can't talk to him about it without sounding like a crazy jealous person. And Jenny says you should talk to Nikki about it. So Nikki comes looking for Daniel in the pub, so Daisy says, let's have a drink together. So she takes her in the back, and she says, I'm a bit jealous. And Nikki says, there's no need, I'm not a homewrecker, I wouldn't want to cheat on him, and if he wanted to cheat on you, I wouldn't want him anyway. And then she like glugs all the wine and leaves to go and sort the trip out.
Yeah,
and that's the end of that.
Daisy's like, come to the back room of the Rovers, let me show you how it all works behind the scenes. And literally it's a 90-second chat that they had there, isn't it?
Well, this is like what always happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, sometimes they make you believe that we've just popped in and just catching the end of a conversation.
Yeah, that's
but this
true.
is literally the whole conversation, and she's like down in the wine and then off she goes. Yeah, because there is still more trip stuff to do. I mean, fair enough, if Daniel's going to be working during the Easter holidays, fair enough, but TAs absolutely do not get paid enough to be able to do this. She's got to have some sort of motivation here. Do you reckon she is going to prey on Daniel?
I don't know. I mean, I just want to say also, we've been away in London this week, but you've still been working.
I have been doing a little bit.
Which I thought you wouldn't do, so I've been a bit annoyed.
I've been mostly doing it while you've been asleep in the morning.
No, you haven't.
I have got up a bit early to do some work.
I know, but that's silly, isn't it?
You've seen a lot of me anyway. More than usual. I may be in school also next week.
Yes, exactly.
What's Daisy going to do when they go off to Edinburgh?
I can't bring myself to care.
The week afterwards.
I don't care about this. This is the trouble. I'm not like, oh no, I don't. It's one of these things. Sometimes I'm like, I overthink everything about a storyline, and it really is not that deep. And at other times, there are clearly things that I should be wondering, and the thought does not even cross my mind because I'm not interested. So I should be going, oh, I wonder if Nikki has a secret plan to seduce Daniel. I wonder if Daniel will get the wrong end of the stick and think that Nikki's coming on to him, and maybe he'll, in a fit of romance in Scotland's capital, fall in love with her. Or
I want there to be a comedy scene where Daniel's in his hotel room and Nikki comes in with a bottle of something or other, and then she has to like hide behind the sofa when Mrs. Crawshaw comes in a slinky negligee or something, and something along those lines. I don't know. But I'm not interested in this. When the story comes up, I'm like, okay, let's see what they're up to next. But I can absolutely take it or leave it. I quite like all of the characters involved, and I was interested in seeing that they decided to develop the character of Mrs. Crawshaw a bit more this week, taking her in a direction that didn't necessarily fit with what I had in my head canon about what she's like.
Well, she always had a very competent and professional veneer, didn't she? And she's very well turned out.
Yeah. And now she's just a blubbering mess.
My secret wish was that she was married to Dr. Gaddis, and they were a couple. Yeah. Because they both have such amazing hair.
We did hear about Dr. Gaddis' wife a month or two ago, didn't we? Yeah. And we thought, could it be Mrs. Crawshaw?
And it isn't.
Yeah, because all it takes is to have amazing grey hair. Yeah. And clearly you're in a couple together.
Yeah.
But alas,
if your hair matches, definitely.
That's just going to have to stay on the Corrie fan fiction sites, isn't it?
Now Mrs. Crawshaw is single and fancy free, and she's been rejected by Daniel. She might decide, as do many a Coronation Street character, to just spontaneously change her sexuality.
Oh yeah, she might do a
later stage in life and just suddenly become a lesbian.
Yeah.
Because bisexuals don't exist on this show.
Watch the space. I'm just surprised that she's still in it. Like she seemed like she was going to be in a couple of scenes earlier this year, but they just can't let her go.
It's a very interesting pivot Coronation Street is doing at the moment to have more teenage characters, storylines, and having Mrs. Crawshaw and Daniel being in the school is beneficial, because then you've got two characters who are older who can also sort of pop in and out of those stories and also have their own stories at school. And now you've got Nikki there being a TA as well.
This is reminding me a little bit of when Ken and Mrs. Jeffers had their illicit affair back in the 90s. There's just something about these Barlow men that the older teachers just can't keep their hands off them. They're just so sexily intellectual.
Something about a man who knows how to put an apostrophe into its in the correct way.
What was going on with Nikki's daughter this week?
Well, they introduced
Where did she
her,
come from?
like,
Hello, I've got a daughter, Macy. I've talked about her maybe before.
Yeah, that's why she wanted the money originally that Daniel gave her to go to live in St Anne's to work in the dream job that she's always wanted to do, which is to be something B&B. And then she came back going, I'm not a B&B person anymore, I'm a TA. And Daniel hasn't said, where's the cash then that I gave you? Why did you need $5,000? We've spoken before about Nikki and how her story didn't make any sense, but at least we got to see Maisie, who she was doing it all for.
So I'm wondering whether Daisy's part of her jealous revenge plan is going to involve something with Maisie.
What do you mean, jealous revenge plan?
Well, Daisy is obviously jealous of Daniel and Nikki at the moment, and is she going to be like? I wonder whether Daisy's going to agree to look after Macy while Nikki goes off to Edinburgh, because she's going to be going on this trip, because why else would she be getting involved in it?
Why are they talking about this trip if they're not going to go on it?
Yeah. So Macy's going to be needing a looker after her, isn't she? Yeah. So I think Daisy's going to say, yeah, she can come and live with me, and maybe she's going to drown Macy in a swimming pool like she drowned Tom in a swimming pool.
I mean, it would be tit for tat, wouldn't it? You seduce my husband, my boyfriend, I drown your child in a swimming pool.
I think she's gonna use her somehow in a evil scheme, but I don't know exactly how. Right, the Faye storyline and also the box packing malarkey. So some sort of sales competition between Faye and Michael on Monday, was there? I kind of missed that, and it turns out that Kirk wins it because he's actually the next Alan Sugar, and who'd have thought it? After all this time that he's been just stacking boxes, I don't know. He's managed. He talked to Mr. Geronimo on the phone, and just the name.
I need people to understand that just because something sounds funny, it doesn't mean it's a story.
There was this just people in the writers' room going, "What if Kirk was really good at sales?"
Somebody's been watching The Apprentice. Somebody watched The Apprentice, however long ago it was on, and went, ha ha ha.
I think it's only just finished.
Well, exactly. So it's been on for like 8 weeks or something.
Yeah. What if it was Kirk?
Wouldn't it be funny?
So anyway, that straddles Monday and Friday's episode, Kirk being this secret new salesman. Wednesday is all about Faye and Craig, because she's got a fertility app now, probably the same one that Sarah's got. Beth finds Craig looking a bit sad later in the episode, and he says, look, don't tell anybody this secret, just like Mrs. Crawshaw and Daniel. Don't tell anyone, but we're trying for a baby. But I'm not actually sure that I want one. It's a bit too soon, isn't it? Plus, we haven't got any money. And Beth says, look, you need to tell Faye how you feels if you're not up for being a dad. But he says, I can't. She's so happy. I'll tell her in 18 years when the baby's moved out or something.
That's the best approach.
Yeah. So Beth, like Daniel, isn't able to keep this secret for very long. She talks to Faye later and says, well, you know, Craigie's not so keen on being a dad. And then she goes and tells Craig what she says, and he's not happy about that because he said it to her in confidence. So Faye and Craig have it out later in the flat. Although when he says, you know what, Faye, my mum was right, I don't really want a baby, she's like, oh, me neither.
Thank God you said something before we brought a child into this world.
Yes. And just to top off this little bit of a whatever it is, silly story, Craig and Faye go into the pub and have a classic Corrie fake out with Beth, because Craig's making out that, oh, thanks mum, now Faye's dumped me. Not really, we're just not going to have a baby. Oh, how we laughed at that. And then we're back on Friday with a box competition thing. Kirk's in a suit, he's got his big sales meeting with Mr. Geronimo, who is an infuriatingly perky, irritating, I don't know.
I just also need them to think of funnier, Geronimo is a funny word, but it's too on the nose to be funny as a name.
I know.
It's like, it's funny if it was his real name, but it's not funny for a fictional name because it's obviously made up. It's like calling him Mr. Farts or something.
He was a very, very annoying person, and definitely at Kirk's level. But anyway, that Kirk ends up winning him over.
It's the common man's touch.
By having a box building competition or something, and yet somehow, despite the fact that it was clearly just a massive fluke that he managed to do this, by the end of the episode, Beth has managed to cajole Sarah Louise and Carla into giving Kirk a promotion. Although it's not a real promotion, he's just got a title of extra office administrator.
Someone's got to pick up the slack while Toya's flouncing around on the cobbles having arguments with drug addicts.
It was all a bit nonsense, wasn't it? Come on, it really was.
Well, it was a funny, Michael, Coronation Street returned to its comedy origins.
Thank you, Ian McLeod.
Ina Sharples is furious.
I'm glad that Faye and Craig aren't having a baby, at least.
Yeah, definitely. There's far too many characters who, whether by design or accident, end up having children incredibly young and then fumbling their way through it. It's nice to see two people acknowledging that sometimes, I know accidents happen, but you can also plan your family should you so desire.
And they've not really been going out for that long either, have they?
No.
They kind of fell in love a little bit. I mean, they've been
well,
drawn together for many years now.
One look up that skirt while she was giving birth and he was hopelessly smitten for the rest of his life.
Yeah, but they've not really built a long-term, stable, loving relationship
You should really,
a child is ready to be born.
You should know.
So give it a bit of time,
maybe
I would say.
I would say. I don't know how long they've been dating.
Like
living together. They haven't. How long have they been living? They haven't actually ever lived together as a couple.
No,
they've lived as flatmates,
and they've had with Tyrone and Emma. Now they're on their own, aren't they?
Has Tyrone moved out?
Yeah, he's back at number 9, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
give it a bit longer. Well, they're doing the right thing.
Also, I wish Beth would just butt out, and I know that was kind of the lesson that she was supposed to be learning this week, but it's true. She's too she needs to see that her Craigie has grown up, and get a life of her own. Really, she's very, very immature in the way that she treats him
when they do actually have a child, because she's going to be the most insufferable grandparent on the street.
Summer, Gemma.
Summer burnout. Wednesday, Summer's been reading all night and she's fallen asleep on the sofa and gets told off by Billy, who thinks that she is not looking after herself. And he tells her he's going to lock the books away once the exams are over. Ardy comes around to see her and she sends him on his way because she's revising hard. And Billy warns her that she shouldn't be pushing her mates away and tells her to at least go for a walk or something. Oh, calm down. Too much fun for one kid. Billy comes back from church and Summer says she went for a walk in the woods, and he says, actually you didn't, because I looked at your boots and they're spotless. And she comes clean, but she says, look, I needed to work and I didn't need to go on a woodland ramble. Tell you what funny thing I used to do when I was revising, which I don't think ever actually helped me, but it was a way to assuage my guilt of not doing as much revision as I probably should have done. And that was, I used to record myself talking, reading my notes out, and then play it to myself when I was asleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's subliminal revision there.
It didn't work. Billy goes and finds Amy in the street and asks if she could try revising with Summer to keep her company and basically slow her down. And Amy's like, yes, okay, I can do that for my friend. So on Friday she comes around to invite Summer for a revision session and a cake and some tea at Roy's. So they go to the cafe together after she's finally been convinced. And Amy says, you know what, this is really boring. Why don't we go for an Easter egg hunt? And Roy gives them a free bacon roll. And Summer's not very happy about this because she wanted to share a cake, and now she's being forced to eat a bacon roll as well. And she's worrying about her weight still. They come back to the flat together, and Summer can't get rid of Amy quick enough. And Amy leaves, and immediately Summer runs into the bathroom and begins to throw up. Amy comes back because she's forgotten her phone, and she hears her in the toilet, and she says, please don't tell me you've made yourself sick. And so she confronts Summer, who starts off being in denial, but Amy can see that she's lying, and she says she needs to talk to somebody if she's struggling. And then she sees Billy later, and Billy is kind of Billy gets her back up a little bit because of the way that he phrases the questions. And so Amy doesn't tell him that Summer's struggling with bulimia, and she kind of takes umbrage at the idea that she's spying on her best mate. I think she thinks she's betraying her confidence, so she doesn't tell him. And Summer thinks when Billy comes in that she has been grassed up, but actually Billy tells her that Amy didn't say anything, and so she's off the hook for the time being.
Yes, I think it's probably going to turn out that maybe something bad might happen to Summer, and then Amy will regret not telling Billy, and Billy will regret not noticing the signs that his foster daughter, stepdaughter, adopted daughter, whatever she is going through hard times.
I mean, after all this work, it's going to be ironic if she messes up her exams because of this eating disorder. So that's what's going to happen, isn't it?
Basically,
biology is going to get the better of her, and everything's going to catch up with her, and she's going to faint in an exam and accidentally skew her eyeball on a pencil and blind herself, maybe.
That would be
my prediction. Yeah,
I don't know. This is another one of these stories that it's like I don't particularly mind when it comes on. Partly because I can give my brain a little bit of a break. I'm not hating it, but it's very much don't need to concentrate too hard on this quite yet.
There are a lot of really interesting things going on here, and it's a very important thing to talk about.
Yeah, it's definitely relatable. It'd be interesting to see what some people who are Summer's age are thinking when they're watching it, because we can't relate to this.
If you think about Summer's bulimia it's not just a manifestation of her concern regarding her weight and eating and stuff, but also her desperately trying to gain control of her life, because diabetes is kind of in control of her life, and it dictates everything that she does and when she does it and how she can do it, and having to test her blood and take this and that and not avoid this or eat that when she doesn't necessarily want to. So she has no control there, and she can't control her stress levels, and she can't control whether she has an exam or not. This is all outside of her ability to decide what to do. So the one thing she can decide to do and take control of is, well, if I'm going to eat this, I can be sick if I want to. And so that makes sense from a psychological point of view, but obviously it's incredibly dangerous for you, not just if you're a diabetic, but also anybody, because it ruins your, for one thing, it ruins your teeth. And if you're concerned about the way you look, that it messes your teeth up. The acid from the vomit will erode your enamel, and that's not good. And just don't take your health for granted. This is the thing. You've got poor Summer here who has learned the horrible lesson too young that you can't guarantee that you'll be healthy. No matter how you feel, health is a gift that can be taken away so quickly. Don't add to the problems by giving yourself another issue.
Yeah, I also
but she's smart enough to know this is the sad tragedy. She's smart enough to know what's happening to her, and that this is not the solution. But she's compelled somehow to do it, and that's the tragedy of these psychological issues and mental health problems. You can be as smart as you like, but you're not immune to mental health crises.
No, I kind of wish that Amy and Billy and Ardy would all get their heads together on this, because they can all sense that something's wrong here, but they're kind of acting independently of each other, aren't they? They need to organise some kind of intervention here for them, especially Ardy, because they're kind of teasing him on the outskirts of this story. Like, again, he wasn't in it this week, was he? But I feel that he's an important element of the summer storyline. And they just need to join the dots a little bit more.
Well, bulimia is quite a tricky thing to catch, because
they can't solve the problem for her either. They can't take her diabetes away, can they?
I just really feel so bad for Summer.
I do as well.
She's trying her best to be good, and this is the other thing too. Like, when you're a kid, you kind of believe the propaganda that if you follow the rules and you're a good person and you do what you're told when you're told to do it, and you follow all the rules, life will unfold itself like a beautiful yellow brick road all the way to paradise, and you'll just skip happily along and get to the Emerald City, and people will give you a mansion and a nice, 2 kids and a swimming pool. That's not how things work. and she's slowly realising that because fate has dealt her a cruel hand by giving her diabetes. You know, she's done everything right, and yet she's still suffering from how cruel life
It's not,
can be.
yeah. I mean, it's not. If it wasn't bad enough that her dad died
I know.
at a tragically young age, and is she mum? Dad? I can't remember what the situation with Summer's mum is, but yeah, she's had a pretty rough life. I just think that I'd probably be feeling a bit more bad for her with the old Summer. I still, after all this time, and I think it's possibly too late now. I don't know whether it's going to happen. I can't quite get used to Harriet's Summer. And
I have now.
I just think I preferred Matilda's Summer, and I don't think that's an unusual viewpoint as well. I've seen other people saying this. It's not that she's playing her badly or anything. I just really, really liked Matilda's Summer.
I also I you know, I can see where you're coming from. I think I've totally accepted her, and I also think that the wardrobe department have calmed down a little bit, and they're not dressing her like a weird idea of what a teenage girl looks like from old back issues of Bunty from 1986.
Yeah. Well, now she's 17 or something, isn't she? So
she's catching up with herself.
Yeah, she is. She is a little bit. Yeah. Never mind that Harriet's going to be like 30 by the time that Summer hits 20 or something. But anyway,
no more questions.
Chess story, Gemma. And Sam's got a bit of a crush this week on Jelena. And I have worked out what this girl's name now is because I looked it up in the synopsis. Jalena. Jelena is his opponent. And her dad sends a message to Nick on Monday saying, oh, she really wants to play Sam at chess again. And Sam's like, yes, please. So they decide to organise a tournament together.
Oh God, this is boring.
And Jelena has to go off to the dentist part way through, and Hope's there watching, saying, I know why you're losing, because Sam's doing really terribly against her. She says, you fancy her. And Sam says, look, you're not allowed to tell anybody, this is classified information.
Illicit childhood romance a la My Girl can save this chess plot.
I don't mind it now, the chess bit's kind of the B plot to Sam's first romance.
Can I just
think it's quite cute.
That this is just going to dissolve into chess-based flirting, and I can't follow that. I can't even follow normal chess. How do you flirt with a pawn?
I don't think it can get too raunchy because this is Sam we're talking
they're
about.
Children.
Although, doesn't Jelena look massively too old for him? I don't know how old Jelena's supposed to be. Whether she's also supposed to be year 6, or is she a bit of a Jack Webster here?
Whenever they have two kids on TV who look completely mismatched for how mature and advanced they are for their age, I just think they must definitely be the same age because nobody would cast somebody that looks so completely different from the other person.
Anyway, Roy suggests to Sam that he get some romance advice from Mr. Lover himself, Nick Tilsley. And at least Nick doesn't say, look, Sam, all you need to do is wait, 4 years? Then you can take her off to Gretna Green and get a ring on that finger.
Yep, or prove how much you love her by wading into the sea and nearly drowning in quicksand.
He gives the age-old classic advice of, just be yourself, son.
Just be yourself. Never do that. That's a stupid thing to do.
I gave some good advice today.
Fool them. Force them into an early marriage and then they can't escape.
Anyway, she returns from the dentist later, does Jelena. Sam beats her in the game of chess, that is. And she is very gracious about it as well. So everything is looking just lovely.
Is she teaching him the way to be a gracious loser?
I think maybe she is.
Wow, beautiful.
So I don't know whether that was all we got for this.
Good.
I think it is a little bit sweet.
I'm just against
chess. Don't you think it's kind of sweet, Sam, with his first little crush?
Yeah, I wish it wasn't done through the medium of chess. What's wrong with other hearty outdoor pursuits like volleyball or cross country racing?
Because this is Sam we're talking about here.
All right then. How about space camp?
He's not into space anymore.
I know, but they should be
gone
into
off it.
space.
That's not his specialist interest.
What's more romantic than a moonlit field where you're observing the stars? Just ask Curly.
I think that maybe she's not. I think he's going to kind of build himself up to tell her how he fancies her or something, and she's going to rebuff him because if he can't deal with losing at a chess match, what is he going to be like when he gets his first romantic rebuttal? and she's like, no, sorry, I'm not interested in you like that. And he's going to be so sad. He's going to go mute like again.
The end of Love Actually, where, spoilers if you haven't watched it,
everybody's seen Love Actually.
The girl moves to America.
No. I think that she's just going to say I'm not interested, and then he has to shake her hand or something.
Or maybe she's gay. Children are very advanced these days. I've heard a lot of them have mortgages now.
I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying this. I mean, I think generally all of the stories, apart from maybe the Faye and Craig and Kirk one, I had some kind of interest in. But
I'm just being sarcastic because I'm being bitchy.
It just very much paled in comparison to the Abby Toya Imran
storyline,
which, as you can tell from the quantity of discussion we've had on that storyline compared to the other one, that kind of got my interest a little bit more this week. But it wasn't a bad week, I thought.
I just can't cope with it. You know what? I'm losing sleep over this Imran and Toya storyline.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting anxious. It's making me anxious.
It's just sad that they're clearly doomed. And I kind of want to know whether Toya really is playing the long con here.
I genuinely can't cope with it.
But it's good. It means that we're invested in it. Much better that than be apathetic towards it. So
it's not healthy.
Do you have a score out of 5 for this week, Gemma?
I think I'm going to have to give it 3.5 because I really I've got myself wound up with the baby.
The other stories were just fine. They didn't drag it down, but
I don't know whether they would have been more interesting in a week that in a different week. Like, maybe. Is it but via comparison? And I'm not saying that everybody's going to feel the same way about the Habib baby story as I do.
No.
Some people, no doubt, find it incredibly frustrating.
Some people are saying
annoying.
This story's been going on non-stop for about 5 weeks now. When we're going to have a breather from it, but I don't care. So I'm going to give this 3.5 big strong men to fix Toya out of 5. What about you?
I'm going to give it 3.5 Christian holidays celebrated with chocolate. And I'm going to tell you, Billy, you can celebrate with chocolate every day of your life if you want to.
Yeah, do it.
Just don't rub it into your diabetic daughter's face.
Character of the week's a tricky one because it kind of has to be either Imran or Abby or Toya, doesn't it? Or maybe Leanne or Roy possibly for their interventions in here. Well, but I think it's difficult to kind of pin your badge on any of those three because they've all done things that you kind of think, they wasn't the best choice.
I want to say, don't want to be mean here, and I know this is going to be controversial, but when Roy sort of like crab walked up to Abby with his broom in hand, I thought, do sod off, Roy. Stop picking sides.
Stop being so damn wise.
Stop telling her what to do and helping her because I want her to fail.
So you're not going to go for Roy's character of the week either?
No, I found his involvement in this disconcerting because he is definitely he's the moral backbone of the show, and by him picking Abby, it's obvious whose side we're supposed to be on in this storyline. And the question really is only, when will Toya wake up and realise what she's doing? I think that's where the story is headed. Honestly, I think it's going to be a bit of a redemption arc for Toya. I think she's setting herself up to be like the Cruella de Vil of abandoned children, like snatching them up to try and make fur coats out of them. And she's going to have to come to her senses and realise that if Roy's not on her side, then she's up to no good. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think Imran's going to continue with his pursuit. The trouble is, Toya's motivations.
Yeah,
it's really difficult because, in a sense, they're more pure than Imran's, but also not, because she knows that she's doing the wrong thing.
But is she doing the right thing?
She's doing the wrong thing. I
think I'm going to have to give this character of the week to Toya, not because I am siding with every decision and action that she'd made this week, just because I've been the most interested to see what she does next and how she reacts to things. And
how long can you live a lie and convince yourself that you're the hero when you're the villain?
Yeah. And Georgia has just been fab this week. All of the main players.
about this.
All performances just brilliant, but Georgia, she's so good.
The fact of the matter is, if you look online, most of the criticism, or I would say all of the criticism, is based at the characters, and that's how you know the actors are doing a good job.
That's very true, because you can tell very quickly if there's a story where the online Twitter brigade or Digital Spy forum lot don't like an actor's job, because they will criticise the actor, won't they?
Yeah.
But
I've everybody is just criticising. Yeah. Like they're really talking about these characters as though they're real people, like just like we
Georgia
are.
makes
and
it
saying,
very, very real and believable.
I hate Toya. I can't believe she's doing this, that, and the other thing.
The little bit, I'm totally buying it.
I'm giving it to
very
Toya,
good.
if only just for her Monday wine-fueled rampage, which I quite enjoyed. But
fun.
I kind of want to give her a bit of a slap for kissing Adam, because it just fuels his ego.
I know, I can't believe that.
Of all the men.
With everything that she got up to this week, she's getting double character of the week. Sending Elsie off on her way, only for the next day, saying, "Oh, if only I'd kept hold of you for another day, you probably could have stayed."
I'm just going to pretend she didn't kiss Adam, because it's stupid.
It is a very stupid thing. It was very much, let's have a cliffhanger. Especially because there was no comeback from it. It was nice that Sarah didn't do anything, but come on, Toya wouldn't do that. Toya would not do that. I don't think anyway.
Think of all those PCR tests that had to be done just for that.
Right, I think we're done with this week's Street Talk.
I reckon.